feel like common sense. Question number one, can you do it? Albert Bandura calls it self-efficacy.
Can you do it?
Do you believe you can do it? Do you have the time, the knowledge, and the training to do what we're asking you to do? If you answer yes, good. Second question, will it work? Do you believe that we're asking you to do the process will work? Albert Bandura calls that response efficacy, believing that the behavior will lead to the ultimate outcome. By the way, that takes education, right? We have to show them the data. We might show them some theory. We show them, teach them why this might work. I just used the word education. Earlier, I used the word training. Is there a difference? In elementary school, we call it education. Middle school, education. High school, education. College, higher education. Then you go to industry. What do you call it? Training. You have your training department. There must be a difference. Well, you know the difference. Do you want your kids to have sex education or sex training? And your kids might answer the question differently. Because you know that training means you do the behavior and you get feedback. That's powerful. Powerful. Have you ever heard this word, online training? It's an oxymoron, isn't it? I mean, training is watch the behavior. Online training, it's like plastic silverware, jumbo shrimp, legal brief, country music.
Y'all like country? I don't like country.
Okay, so
too sad.
If you answer yes, it will work. Third question, is it worth it? So we've had a training question, we've had an educational question. This is the motivational question. Do you believe the consequences? This is about consequences. B.F. Skinner taught us this, selection by consequences. Dale Carnegie quoted B.F. Skinner and said, from the day you were born, everything you did was because you wanted something for doing it. Consequences. Is it worth it? So
okay, let me just clarify here. We're talking about essentially reward, contingency, operant conditioning. This is how dogs are trained. You teach them to do something and you either pet them or give them a treat after. Well, this all still starts for humans very early in life, and we get into the thinking from a very young age that if we do something well and there are witnesses, we will be rewarded. And I think that can create a dangerous precedent, but it is how the human operates. And B.F. Skinner, there are some people that argue against B.F. Skinner stuff more recently, but I think it's kind of like arguing the moon landing. It's just, well, how can you be better than him? I'll call him wrong. He found out a lot of shit, and he is the father of behavioralism, at least in the American sense. And behavioralism is the math of psychology, and it's pretty fucking solid. I mean, the numbers support the stuff you discover in behavioralism. It's not, I think you were thinking about a cigar, but it was a penis. That's Freudian, and that's no good. But anyway, that's what he's talking about. Reward, contingency, expecting a reward for doing something right. To convince people
that it's worth it. Now, by the way, if you answer yes to those three questions, you feel competent. Am I right? You feel competent at doing worthwhile work. You've all been there. When you feel competent at doing worthwhile work, you're more likely to be self-motivated. You've been there. No one has to be looking over you. You feel. Now, here's the challenge, leaders, teachers. How do you inspire people to feel competent? Well, you give them feedback. You give them recognition. You show them they are competent. Okay, I got one more, another C word. Choice. Your common sense will tell you. When you believe you have a sense of autonomy, a sense of choice in what you're doing, you feel more self-motivated. B.F. Skinner taught us that too. In his book, Beyond Freedom and Dignity, way back in 1971, reading that book changed my life because I realized that I am controlled by consequences. But sometimes I don't feel controlled. When I'm working for a pleasant consequence, it feels good. It feels like I'm working to get something. When I'm working to avoid an aversive consequence, I feel controlled. That's called negative reinforcement. So here's a challenge, leaders. How do we get people to become success seekers rather than failure avoiders? First day of introductory psychology class. I teach 2 classes of 600 students. Maybe some of you have been in that class. And remember, the first day I say, how many are here to avoid failure? And 80% raise their hand. And I say, well, thanks for coming. I know you're motivated, but you're not happy campers. You probably told your friends, I got to go to class.
You don't agree with this guy, RD? Tell me why.
Not I get to go to class. It's an opportunity. You probably woke up to an alarm clock, not an opportunity clock. And it's all in how you see it. Really, it's all in how you see it. It's your paradigm. It's how you communicate to others and how you communicate to yourself. So Ellen Langer said in her book, Mindfulness, she said, and psychologists know, when you perceive choice, you perceive motivation. You're more motivated. So the deal is, for yourself, sit back and reflect. Be mindful of the choices you have. And talk about being a success seeker rather than a failure avoider. It's all how you talk, how you communicate to yourself and to others. I've got a 4th C word, community. Powerful word. Psychologists know that social support is critical. People who perceive a sense of relatedness, a sense of connection with other people, they feel motivated and they're happier. I want to recite a poem. It's called The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox. And as I recite this poem, there's only 2 characters, a man and a lady. Put yourself in the situation. Be mindful. Think about the situation and what you would do. Okay, here we go. A woman was waiting in an airport one night with several hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book and happened to see that the man beside her, as bold as could be, took a cookie or 2 from the bag between, which she tried to ignore.
Can you believe the effrontery?
She read, munched cookies, and watched the clock as a gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and he broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve, and he's also rude. He didn't even show any gratitude. She had never known when she'd been so galled. And she sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed for the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat. Then she sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair. Then the others were his. He tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So where were you where were you? Whose side were you on? Were you thinking independent or interdependent? I don't blame you if you think independent. You know, that's how we're raised. Nice guys finish last. Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
So whose side were you on?
You know, independent. We come into this life of ours dependent to others, and then we can't wait to become teenagers. You know, we're too old to do what kids do, too young to do what adults do, so then we'll do what nobody else would do to assert our independence. And some of us get stuck there. We're stuck. I'll do it myself. I don't need you.
Hang on. Yeah, you guys, would you do me a favor? I'm seeing a lot of philosophical terms flying around the chat room. Would you guys mind summarizing your basic philosophical outlook on life with some of those words so I can try to understand, because it might come into play here. And then we're going to talk about, you know, if you're a nihilist or whatever, we're going to talk about it. I want to know optimist, pessimist, nihilist, whatever ist you think you are, or combination of ist, including atheist or theist or non-theist or igtheist. I want to know all that as well. So put it in the chat room, we'll talk about it.
not good. We need each other. We have to have each other's back. We need a sense of community. This independence culture that we got to move to interdependent. Okay, 4 C words that can fuel self-motivation and I think can fuel actively caring for people. Let me tell you a story to put it all together. It happened over 60 years ago. I remember it like yesterday. My parents asked me, "Hey, Scott, how'd you like to get drum lessons? How'd you like to play the drums?" Oh, man, would I ever? I'm thinking of Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa. Most of you guys don't know those names, but they were the drummers. In those days, a drum was in the front of the band. They had white pearl drum sets, and I saw myself. That was my vision. I had a vision, consequences, that was my vision, and I said, yeah, I want to take drum lessons. So the teacher would bring his drum and set next to mine. I didn't have a nice drum like this. My parents bought me a beat-up old drum at an auction, and they said to me, if you get better, if your teacher tells us you're getting, they're holding me accountable. Teacher says you're getting better, we'll get you a better snare drum, and then a bass drum, and then some cymbals, and that was my vision, and that kept me going, consequences. So the teacher would come in, and he would show me stuff. You know, this is how left hand, this is how Buddy Rich plays with his left hand and his right hand. And they would just do things like a flam. Can you hear that in the back? You okay? And this is a rim shot. He would show me stuff. I was just 10 years old, remember?
Piranist? I don't even know what a piranist is.
Wow. He showed me this little simple drum beat. Watch me, Scott. Watch this. I practiced it, and I did it. I'm feeling competent. He showed me a paradiddle. Listen, paradiddle, paradiddle. And he said, you go home when you practice next week, I want to see your paradiddle. And I said, watch this.
But Apocalypse, don't you hate black people? You can't be a piranist if you hate black people.
He said, that's a double paradiddle. Hey, we didn't get there yet. I'm reading ahead. Because I'm self-motivated. I feel competent. I'm walking through Muhlenberg High School, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I see the music teacher, and he says, I heard you're learning to play the drums. I said, yeah, and I'm getting good. He said, you can march in the band. You can be the snare drummer. Whoa, that felt good.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing this guy, so I'm going to stop it. We're going to go right into, I'm going to talk right over it. It's never too late to chase your dreams. So those of you guys that are still sitting there teetering, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it one of these days. Just go ahead and do it today. I'll give you 3 days. Get the first fucking part of it done, or you're just never going to do it. So wipe it off your list. That's my theory. I'm going to stick to it. It is never too late to chase your dreams. Steve Mazan at TEDx San Jose.
I am Steve Mazan, your surprise guest speaker. I know you've seen it in your program all day. You're thinking TEDx, San
Apocalypse
Jose,
does not
heart
hate
of Silicon
black
Valley.
people, if anybody's listening.
Who's
I was
the
messing
surprise
around.
guest speaker? Steve Jobs?
He just strongly prefers
Steve
white
Mazan.
people.
I apologize. I was hoping for Steve Jobs too. Surprise. Actually, I am a comedian. Thank you for laughing. I am very honored to be here. They actually asked me not to just make you laugh, but to leave you today with some motivation from everything we've heard today. So I'm going to get to some motivation for you all here. Here we go. Seize the day. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Do not wait for your ship to come in, swim out to it. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If you can dream it, you can do it. Wherever you go, go with all your heart. If man has done his best, what else is there? Success is going from failure to fair without losing your enthusiasm. If first you don't succeed, try again. Genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. I think I can. There's no substitute for hard work. Willing is not enough. We must do, live the life you imagine. Do or do not. There is no try. Action is the foundational key to all success. Discouragement and failure are the two of the surest stepping stones to success. The cure is not to dream less, but to dream more, to dream all the time. If you don't know where you're going, you will wind up somewhere else. Just do it.
Yeah. That doesn't motivate you. You might as well die. Because that's everything.
Some pretty motivational quotes from some pretty inspirational people, including Lombardi, Proust, and the little engine that could. I heard those quotes growing up all the time. When I first heard some, I memorized them. Others I wrote down. But not one of them motivated
I agree with
me
you
for
there,
more than a day or two.
No need to just be in one box.
It was a much less inspirational quote that inspired me from a much less famous person. It was a doctor at UCLA. He said, Steve, you've got inoperable tumors all over your liver. Worst case scenario, you have 5 years to live. Okay, maybe not as elegant as Proust, but pretty effective.